I'll never forget the sight. My parents, shivering on the porch, coats pulled tight, their frail hands knocking against a door that should have been theirs to enter. Inside, through the windows, I saw the laughter. My in-laws clinking glasses, music playing, celebrating as if the house belonged to them. My house. My parents outside, like beggars. That was the moment I stopped being their daughter-in-law and became their reckoning. When I first met Armin, I thought I was marrying love. He was charming, ambitious, from a family that carried itself with money and pride. My parents welcomed him with open arms. Simple people, honest people. They gave him trust. He repaid them with cruelty. At first, I didn't notice the divide he built. Small comments. My mother's food was too plain. My father's clothes too cheap. My in-laws laughed at these jabs, and slowly my husband began to echo them. But I thought marriage meant compromise, so I stayed quiet. Until silence became permission. The betrayal revealed itself in fragments. My parents stopped visiting unannounced. My mother's calls grew shorter, her tone strained. One day, I found out why. She had come over when I wasn't home. My mother-in-law opened the door, smiled thin, and said, "We're busy. Maybe don't come so often." I confronted Armin. He dismissed it. They exaggerate. My parents didn't mean it like that. But the truth screamed louder the day I returned home early. My parents were on the front steps, clutching bags of fruit they'd brought for me, turned away again. I watched from down the street as my father's shoulders sagged, my mother wiping her eyes. And when the door finally shut in their faces, I swore I'd never forgive. That night, Armin and his family sat inside, laughing, glasses raised. I stayed in the shadows, planning. Revenge isn't rage, it's precision. I started quietly. First, the finances. The house was in my name, purchased with money my parents had helped me save long before marriage. My in-laws thought it was theirs, but legally, every brick was mine. I gathered documents, updated deeds, shifted accounts. Piece by piece, I built walls they couldn't see until it was too late. Next, I studied their weaknesses. My father-in-law loved reputation more than breath. My mother-in-law loved control. And Armin, he loved comfort, the illusion that he was master of this empire they pretended to own. So I stripped each away, one layer at a time. The night of reckoning came sooner than they expected. They planned a lavish party in my house. Invitations sent without asking me. I said nothing. I waited. When the guests arrived, lights blazing, music swelling, I arrived too, documents in hand, calm as a surgeon. I walked into my own living room like a stranger reclaiming stolen ground. My in-laws froze. Armin stammered. But before he could speak, I laid the folder on the table. "Enjoy the drinks," I said, my voice steady, "because after tonight, you'll never step foot in this house again." The lawyer's letter was simple: eviction notice. The house, the assets tied to it, the accounts, everything legally mine. Signed, sealed, undeniable. Their faces cracked. Whispers spread among the guests. My father-in-law's hands trembled as he read. My mother-in-law hissed threats under her breath. Armin turned red, demanding explanations. But I didn't shout. I didn't need to. I simply opened the door, and my parents stepped inside. They looked small, uncertain, as if afraid of being turned away again. I held their hands, guided them past the stunned crowd, and seated them at the table my in-laws thought was theirs. "From now on," I said quietly, "this is their home, not yours." The aftermath was brutal for them. My in-laws were humiliated, their circle whispering about how they'd been thrown out of the very house they flaunted. Armin's pride crumbled when he realized every comfort he'd leaned on, paid staff, joint accounts, the status of living here, was gone. They left that night with nothing but rage in their eyes. And I didn't stop there. I pursued every debt they'd hidden, every business weakness they'd ignored. Within months, their empire shrank. Their friends turned cold, their name tainted. Justice wasn't dramatic. It was steady, relentless. Now, when I walk through my home, it feels different, warmer. My parents sit in the garden sipping tea, their laughter echoing against walls that finally welcome them. And I think back to that night on the porch, my father's trembling hands, my mother's tears. The image is carved into me. It was the moment I chose not to remain silent. Some say revenge consumes. Maybe. But I don't feel consumed. I feel cleansed. Because they tried to make my parents beggars at my door. And I made sure they'll spend the rest of their lives outside.